So Star Wars Hunters is a very addicting game. I've been having so much fun with it since it launched, but despite that, there are definitely a few types of players out there that can make it a really tough experience at times. And so today we're going to be going over 5 players we all hate in Star Wars Hunters. Now, I always have to preface these videos by saying this is obviously a bit of banter, guys. Don't take any of this seriously. Half of these are directed at myself, let alone other people in the community. So if any of these seem directed at you, it is all a joke, guys. Don't take it too seriously, because there is often salty comments, which to be fair are pretty fun to read most of the time, but like I said, it's all in good fun, so let's get stuck right into it. Now, the first one that I cannot stand, that's not just exclusive to Star Wars Hunters, this is essentially in every shooter out there, this is the jump spammer, otherwise known as the bunny hopper, and in this game they are so damn annoying. Now, I'm not talking about people who just jump, you know, once in a blue moon in a gunfight and stuff like that. I think that's completely fair, but there are a lot of people out there who will literally just spam the jump button, and it's literally all they do. Not only is it really annoying to look at, but it is actually, unfortunately, a very effective playstyle because it can often throw off aim assist, and obviously with this game also being on mobile phones and stuff like that, it's freaking hard for other people to actually aim and hit their targets as it is, let alone when people are jumping around like a maniac. So this is one that I find very, very annoying. Like I said, if people just jump once in a gunfight, I don't have any issue with that, but to the people who are jump spamming, please stop it. You are not impressing anyone. Now, next up we have what I call the lone wolf, and this is essentially the guy on your team who just never plays the objective, but also goes off on their own and essentially just ends up dying half the game. There is nothing worse, especially when it comes to playing ranked, because obviously in ranked you really do need all of your teammates to kind of be working together, or at least at the very minimum, if they're off on their own, they need to be playing the objective. There is nothing more frustrating than being on a team with one of those guys who plays as maybe Reeve or Amara Vex. It always kind of feels like it's those two characters, sometimes maybe a scorer, but for the most part it is always a damage hunter, and they'll just run off and do their own thing. Don't get me wrong, if you're an absolute freak at the game and you just end up killing the entire enemy team, that is actually a very useful playstyle because it leaves all the other players in your team a lot more freedom when it comes to capturing objectives and stuff like that. So this can be a viable playstyle, but unfortunately most people who do this aren't actually that good at the game, and they end up just dying, and then it becomes essentially a 3v4 while that lone wolf is just back in the spawn running back into the action. So do not be that guy, especially if you're playing ranked. Play with your teammates, play the objective. That is definitely how this game is designed to be played. Now, just quickly, guys, as you can see, the latest merch drop is now live. I've got the Star Wars Hunters inspired Sammy Squad logo. I've changed the Aurebesh from the original Star Wars Hunters logo. And like I said, that is now live. If you head to the link in the description, you can get that in not only hoodies, but also t-shirts and coffee mugs as well. So if you guys are interested, be sure to go and check those out. But with that being said, let's get stuck back into the video. Now, next on the list is definitely one that I've seen, unfortunately, more than I had hoped when it comes to Star Wars Hunters, and this is the guy whose entire personality is based on being in Kyber 1, despite the fact that it really isn't that hard to get to Kyber 1 in this game. I've seen it so many times in my own comment section, as well as all over Twitter and stuff like that, even in the official Star Wars Hunters Discord and stuff. So many people bragging about, oh my god, I'm in Kyber 1, your opinion's wrong, nothing that you say matters because I'm in Kyber 1 and you're not, even though half the time the people that they're talking to are actually in Kyber 1 as well. But I really hate to break it to those players. Unfortunately, the ranked mode in Star Wars Hunters is probably the single easiest ranked mode in any shooter that has ever existed. Now, if you're in Kyber 1, that's obviously great, and it's still good to get to Kyber 1. It's not something that can be done overnight, but the way that it works in this game, it is based on playtime. It is not based on your actual skill level, because realistically you can actually have about a 50% win-loss ratio, meaning you essentially just win one game, lose one game, and you can do that forever and eventually make it to Kyber 1. So I really hate to break it to the people who are basing their entire personality around that. If that is you, unfortunately, it's not as impressive as you probably think it is. And on top of that, I think most other people are probably in Kyber 1 as well. Hell, I have been on holiday this month. I've also had COVID. I run 3 YouTube channels, which is about to be 4 YouTube channels. I work part-time, I'm in the gym, and I spend plenty of time with my girlfriend, and even with that, I am still in Kyber. So if I can do it with all that time taken up by all my other stuff, then like I said, it really unfortunately isn't that impressive, and I think a lot of people need to stop basing their entire personality on being in Kaiba 1. Now next on the list we have the guy who refuses to play anyone but Scorer, and realistically this is just anyone who refuses to play anyone but their main, but I feel like this happens most with Scorer simply because Scorer is the best in the game at the moment. Now don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with playing Scorer. I am probably also a Scorer main, but the thing for me is that I don't just pick Scorer instantly in the start of every round. I do have other hunters that I can do well with as well, and I feel like most people are like that. Everyone kind of has, you know, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 or 5 different mains, and they are able to balance between all of them. But the guys who only pick Scorer and just play every single game as Scorer, there is nothing more frustrating. Now don't get me wrong, people who are like that generally are pretty decent at Scorer, and that's fair enough because Scorer is simply the easiest in the game to play. But the downside to people like that is that when they unfortunately don't get to pick Scorer and someone picks them first, those players tend to actually suck at literally every other hunter, and they become essentially a liability for your entire team because they then have to pick someone else, and they most likely suck with that hunter, and that obviously costs you and your team, especially in ranked. It can most of the time lead to a loss because you're pretty much playing with 3 players instead of 4. So do not be that guy. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with maining Scorer. I do as well. But if you are that guy who can only play Scorer, get some fallback characters, get some other hunters that are useful. It will definitely help not only yourself, but your teammates in the long run as well. Now, last but definitely not least, we have the auto fire Dialga players. Now, if you guys didn't know, on mobile, there is a setting, and I think it is actually on by default, where it is essentially auto fire. So as long as you're aiming at an enemy, the game will pretty much shoot for you. And although I think that's completely fair, because obviously it's pretty damn hard to play in a mobile, especially when there's players out there playing on a Switch, and even myself, for example, I play with an actual controller. So I think it's fair enough on mobile to be playing with auto fire on, but there is nothing more annoying than when players do this with Dialga, because it is borderline a freaking aimbot. You just have to literally aim at enemies' heads and you will get headshots every time, and because of the amount of damage he deals, sometimes you can just get absolutely deleted by these players. So this one is a bit more of a pet peeve for me. Like I said, I don't actually have anything against playing with auto fire on because I think it's completely fair enough. It's more just something that really annoys me when I'm constantly dying to someone who is clearly not actually shooting themselves. They are just having the game shoot for them, because there's oftentimes I'll jump off a cliff or something like that and I will still manage to get headshotted, and there is 0% chance they actually pull the trigger when that happens. So this one is very, very frustrating, but like I said, I actually don't have anything against it. It is just one of those things that I think most people find pretty damn annoying. But that is it for 5 players we all hate in Star Wars Hunters, guys. I'm keen to hear all of your thoughts down below, and if there's any that you guys want to add to the list as well, be sure to leave them down in the comment section. I can always do a follow-up to this as well, so leave your own thoughts down below. And like I said, it's all in good fun, guys. None of that is actually meant to be offensive to anyone, so please do not be offended. Like I said, half of them are taking the piss out of myself, let alone everyone else. But that is going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.